One of the things we try to do when we gather in these spaces at the very beginning, especially as we're thinking about the year ahead, is to anchor ourselves in Scripture. And looking back at the stories of Scripture, trying to see where God might be calling us specifically in alignment with that story or alignment with that passage. And the one that we chose this year comes to us actually from 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 7. It's a very simple passage where Paul talks about jars of clay, one of my favorite 90s bands. But here in 1 Corinthians or 2 Corinthians chapter 4 verse 7, this is what Paul says. But we have this treasure in clay jars so that it may be made clear that this extraordinary power belongs to God and does not come from us. One of the most interesting things about this passage is the way that Paul outlines it, and something that I think we often forget in the context of planning and pursuing goals and dreams and visions, is that it's often God's, or is always God's work, not our work. We simply are these earthen vessels that God gets to use. Paul in this passage to the Corinthian church is clear to remind us that God always chooses to place extraordinary gifts in the hands of ordinary men and women, of people. It gives us these unbelievable graces that we get to share with others. And at all times, he's just using these ordinary sources. This is not something that's important about this passage. Paul's not talking about perfect vessels, not these vessels that you might find at the center of the temple with gold and ornate realities. These are earthen vessels that exist not in flawless institutions, but in real people with real communities. And this is who Covenant is. Covenant is this church that is a jar of clay, ready to be filled with the extraordinary grace of God and to use the ordinary circumstances of our lives in powerful ways. We don't exist in this world without cracks, right? We all have our cracks. We all have our problems. We don't exist in this world without limits. There are limitations for sure to what we can do on our own. And yet God has entrusted us with a treasure that can transform the community around us and do more than we ever thought was possible. So I wonder, right from where you are, just name it in just a few short words. You don't go on and on. I'll shut you down. No. And in your own words, very briefly, what would you name aloud as something valuable that God has entrusted to us? What's something valuable God has entrusted to this community? Children. Good. The earth. Resilience. What you got? Chickens. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Chili. Time. Acceptance. Hope. Hope. Free will. Yeah. What you got? Frogs? Indeed. Absolutely. Absolutely. Any others? Some of the other things in our midst that God may have entrusted to us, treasures, if you will, that Aaron and I see often in our positions of leadership are things like recovery, right? Both recovery from the storm, but also recovery from substance use, as the largest crystal meth anonymous group in the world meets here 3 nights a week. The treasure that we're seeing happen more and more in the community of faith here, starting last fall, are things like counseling services and therapy, as Blue Ridge Hope became a partner with us. We're seeing treasures formed like friendship with neighbors who live on site, who we get the privilege of walking alongside, them showing us their resilience and strength and capacity for growth. We do see treasures in our children and our youth, something that has been beautiful to see the expansion of over the past year in particular. And I would also say it's beautiful to see a community, not only those who live here and walk through these doors, but a community of belonging. that is being found here. People who feel like they do belong to this community, even when they don't walk through the doors of this community of faith on a Sunday morning. Different ones who will come throughout the week and feel like this is a place where they belong, even with the parents of our Spanish Academy who feel like this building, this space belongs to them as well. And those are beautiful ways that each of us find belonging and others in our community find belonging. So this afternoon as we come together, we're not really gathering in this space to prove in one way or another that our jar is super strong. What today is all about is simply noticing where the treasure is that lies in the jars that's been placed among us, and asking what kind of container do we need to become to hold the treasure that God still has for us in the future? In what way do we need to expand this earthen vessel, as imperfect as it is, as we go into the future? And so that's actually why you have the maps on the table in front of you. The first step was to kind of have some good conversation with each other, get to know each other a little bit better. But the second is for us to reflect together on where we are, what's the container look like that we've had so far, where we have been over the last few years, and where we think we're going into the future. And so those are the couple of questions that we have that we want you to respond to.
I don't know if you got a chance to like really squint your eyes or put on your progressives and look really close at some of those small places. But if you're not familiar with this World of Experience map, it's a great tool to revisit from time to time, personally and collectively. You can look at it in terms of seasons. Winter, spring, summer, and fall are kind of labeled there in some way. You can look at it in terms of regions. I think there's a place of frozen wasteland maybe at the top right, if I remember correctly, and other places that are oceans that are named in different ways. Or you can zoom in these little marked places that would be like cities on a map, places like courage and change and heart. And hopefully you're staying, not too deep into the cold beer and good friends section of the map, which is near the center bottom.
You didn't find it, did you? I see your eyes open. He's like, I didn't even see that one there.
It's kind of got something for everybody. There's a few spots at the top where there's safe haven, and at the bottom leftish side, there's another safe haven, so you can find some of those places. But it's a really fascinating way to think about where you are personally in this season of life and where you want to go, and also for us to think about our church. So I'd love for you to just call aloud if you found a spot that you feel like really encapsulates where Covenant has been over the past couple of years. And there's no right answer here. We just kind of wanted to hear from at least a few of you. Where do you think Covenant has been before we get to where we are going? Stormy Coast. Round of applause. I support that answer. Stormy Coast. Thank you, sir. Where else? If not the Stormy Coast, where has Covenant been? Sunset of Inspiration. Say it again. The Sunset of Inspiration. Man, you guys are at the same table. Sunset of Inspiration there at the Stormy Coast. Courage. A place of courage. Thank you.
What'd you say? A mountain of work.
Our council chair says a mountain of work. I think that's a reliable source as well. Stress. Thank you. Change. Shelter. When she thinks of the village, she thinks of literally a place of shelter. Where do you think or sense or maybe even hope we're headed in at least 26? We won't speak for the next 3 years, but at least 2026. Growth. Sea of possibility. Got a thumbs up over here?
Yes, ma'am. Where?
Heart. We're moving towards heart.
Love it.
Creativity. Oceans of calm.
Over here, Sam. Surrender.
Surrender. Thank you. Welcome.
Welcome. And promise.
Promise. That's beautiful. Well, I think there's I'd love if you really want to put an X marks the spot over whatever you see for the future. If you want to leave those, I'd love to collect some of those. If you want to take it, just take it. I don't feel that strongly about accounting for it, but if it means more to you, then it will for us. But don't hesitate to put a big X marks the spot for you so we can see if there's any overlapping answers there. Excuse me. We've tried to move to this model where we capture videos from our leadership. For those that don't know, the Methodist Church operates with an administrative council and a lot of other committees. And so the council is usually comprised of members of the different committees. And so you're going to hear for most of this time kind of up and down, in and out from different voices to capture where we have been and where we're going. So first up is our council chair, who has acknowledged it's been mountains of work over the last couple of years as he served as our council chair, who's going to speak to us about where God has already been at work among us.
Good morning, Covenant family. I'm Max Sally, your Administrative Council Chair, and I want to begin with a simple word: thank you. When I look back over the past year, I don't just see a calendar of events. I see faithfulness of God, and I see the heart of this church. I've never been more proud to be a part of Covenant Community Church. We've lived through a season that stretched us, tested us, but also revealed who we really are. One of the most sacred moments this year was when the village was formally dedicated. That dedication wasn't just a ceremony, it was a testimony. It was Covenant saying, we're not turning away from suffering, we're making room for hope. At the same time, we've seen community events growing, more neighbors gathering, more relationships forming, more opportunities to share joy and hospitality in the name of Christ. Right now, we're watching God breathe life into ministry. Our youth program is growing, and that matters because these students aren't just the future of the church. They are the church right now. We're seeing men's fellowship deepen, and there's something powerful about spiritual friendships being built in this season. We're celebrating new partnerships, and we're reminded again that ministry never meant to be done alone. And week after week, our Wednesday pantry ministry continues quietly and faithfully. That may not always make headlines, but I'll tell you, it looks a lot like the kingdom of God. As we head into a new year, our hope is to keep reaching outward. More community outreach, deeper relationships, and steady care for those who now call the village home. We also want to reevaluate how we use our building and property, not just asking what's convenient, but what's faithful and what's mission-focused. And we want to grow, not just bigger, but deeper, growing our property, our membership, our structure, and especially our stewardship, so that Covenant can be strong, sustainable, and ready for whatever God asks us next. Covenant, thank you. Thank you for your love, your sacrifice, your perseverance, and your faith. I truly believe God is shaping something beautiful here, and I can't wait to see where this next session leads us.
Round of applause for Mr. He likes to receive all complaints or concerns, and we have a council meeting, I think, tomorrow night. So hit him up today if you need to.
Yeah, it's fine. If you ever need any voiceovers, please go to Mac.
The next video you're going to hear from Dana Satterfield. Where is Dana? Is she still here? There you are. There you are over there. Wave at everybody. Dana is our lay leader, so she kind of helps the council keep a pulse on how the larger body is feeling, and she eavesdrops on conversations to know what's going on, and she also brings information when she hears opportunities to connect you to what's happening in the church in whatever ways those might present themselves. So always good to have the balance of clergy and laity, as United Methodists have always been lay-led movements.
Hi, Covenant family. I am Dana Satterfield, and I serve as your lay leader. This is my first year as a leader, and for those who do not know what that is, no worries, neither did I. But the best way I can describe it is that the lay leader is a kind of bridge between the congregation and the church's leadership, helping encourage spiritual growth, making sure the voice of the laity is heard, and supporting the ministry of the whole church. I have to say that serving in this role for the past year has been such a gift. One of my favorite things has been watching our worship and tech teams grow this past year. To be exact, the team has tripled. And it's not just that more people are stepping in, it's how the team has been growing spiritually together. The time of devotion on rehearsal nights has been really meaningful, and you can feel that translate to our worship on Sunday morning. Another moment that has meant so much to me is how our Sunday morning volunteers have been coming together before the service. Many of you don't know this, but before service, we pray together and we share communion with each other before the service even begins, and that's powerful. It recenters us. It reminds us of our why. It's not a performance, it's ministry. Right now, we are in an exciting season of growth, and seeing our families and youth growing has been such a joy, and I absolutely love looking out on Sundays and seeing new faces and familiar faces together. The church filled with people who are hungry for something real. That speaks to one of the most beautiful things about Covenant. People can be their authentic selves here. There's no scripted church speak, and we don't have to pretend we've got it all together. People are free to ask questions, to be honest about where they are in their walk, and still know that they are loved. That is truly special. Because of this, I'm excited to see what's next. I look forward to meeting even more new people this year and hearing your stories and your hopes. I'm also excited to see what God does through the village, through our solar project, and through possible new staff positions that will help us sustain and care for this place and this mission long term. And I just want to say this: the people of Covenant are generous. With your time, your gifts, your resources, your love, you are ready to bless others, and you do it again and again through every ministry. I can't wait to see what God has in store for us this year. I'm proud to be a part of this community of believers. Thank you for being you.
Thank you, Dana. We want to take a few minutes before we play a series of other videos just to talk about some of the objectives that started to show up in a lot of different ways. We had a strategic gathering maybe halfway through the year or a little farther back than halfway. Some of you were a part of small group conversations to try to figure out action steps, and a lot of those we're still ironing out. But the first word we want to kind of put in our minds and in our hearts for this year is ecosystem. You can say it with me, ecosystem.
Ecosystem.
You are a part of it. We are a part of it, whether you're new or whether you're returning. And this church, as a people and as a place, is not the only part of it. But for a long time, we've functioned as sort of an event-centered community, whether that's the events we do out or the events that we host in. Everything from working with our schools to host, dances or special events, banquets for the athletes, those types of things, to a lot of times being a space for funerals for people that don't even come here, maybe never came here, but need a place to be able to gather with family and connect and celebrate the lives of people they love, and lots of things in between. But the primary image of the church has been a gathering place, and we'll always gather. For the people who always get nervous when I say, the church is changing, it's not that we will never gather. We will always gather in some way, shape, or form. But because that is our narrative, right? That is our center. We're only 32 years old. And that is why we exist, is to worship God and to invite people into that spiritual relationship with God, into that personal relationship with God. But we've already seen the church, as many of you know, take shape on hiking trails. We've seen the church take place in the recovery space, as Sam already alluded to. We've seen it happen in counseling spaces. It was informal, and now it is more formal. We've seen it happen in our neighborhoods when we're in and out of each other's neighborhoods with special events, and now, as I think Mac mentioned, people are coming to us from nearby neighborhoods to receive whatever we have to distribute every week on a Wednesday. That is our story. That is our community. And so to be Covenant community, we've seen this coming for a while, but now more than ever, we want to shift to a concrete hub of community. And really what that means is that there's potential for us to break ground on a community hub building, if you will, before the end of the year. There's potential to break ground on a community hub by the end of the year. And if that makes you excited, great. If that makes you terrified, also great, because we have good friends, particularly from the Wesley Community Development Center, who are helping spearhead this kind of assessing of what's possible, connecting with different partners who want to have bits and pieces of the work they do in the wider community on this space. And if you don't know, that's been true since before we came, or as soon as we came. Somebody said, we would love to have a building somewhere on this property and share this building. And as time went on, we were like, well, lots of people have ideas for this property, and it's a really powerful testament to this congregation that people can even throw out those ideas. And so anyway, we're thankful for the leadership of the Wesley Community Development Center. They've been meeting with partners. They're drafting ideas and some official plans to be considered. They're securing and acknowledging or finding funding sources for this type of project, because I know those are the types of things that make us nervous, and they will present that before our council before we get to that point. Do you want to speak more to that?
Yeah, I think one of the pieces of the work that's really important to acknowledge is the types of partners we already have. I mentioned this earlier. We already have certain key partners who are on site, who are engaged, who are seeing a sense of belonging in our community. Groups like the Spanish Academy, groups like Blue Ridge Hope, groups like the Crystal Meth Anonymous group, the Open Blinds CMA group. We're seeing that already, but this is just the beginning. We've already been engaged in conversations beyond those to include, which is the group Aaron mentioned a minute ago, TASK. This is a group that's been interested in partnering from early on. They're an organization dedicated to youth leadership and very similar, if you're familiar with the group Outward Bound, they're very similar to that in their orientation. But they are wanting to be a part of what's happening here. We've had conversations with the United Way and Blue Ridge Health in exploring what might be a Reynolds Wellness Center, so that we have a primary care physician on site offering a full health clinic in this building, so that Reynolds students, families, our local families, and our greater community can come and have access to a health clinic right here. That would be open access to any student and staff member who is at Reynolds. The reason we've talked to United Way and Blue Ridge Health is because those two organizations already have a partnership with Buncombe County School to make sure, just my phone, to make sure that healthcare centers are started all over our community. So you may have heard of these at Inca and Irwin, some at Asheville High. What we're proposing is a little bit different from some of those because each of those health clinics are located on school property. This one would be located adjacent to school property, but it would serve both of the schools and the larger community who wanted to establish their primary care physician here. We've also continued to have conversations with Deep Time Coffee, who provides our coffee on Sunday morning, a spiritual community of faith that is in partnership with those who've been impacted by incarceration. And we've talked to them specifically about how they might put a coffee store, a cafe on site. And in specific, the cafe that they have currently in West Asheville attends to largely the African American community who's been impacted by incarceration. As they shift in this direction, they would want to focus more specifically on members of our Latin community who've been impacted by incarceration in one way or another. And so the general vibe of the cafe would shift just a little bit, but that's how they would continue to be in partnership with us. Other partners include things like Pisgah Legal Services, as they provide legal services for those who've got some civil issues that they need to attend to, and Unite. There is another organization as well. Unite is a partner that we've been discussing this with for a while. They serve as a healthcare organization, members of the Latin community around us. So these are some of the partners that have already been brought around the table and we've had conversations with to see what level of interest they have in a hub like this. But the hub in and of itself becomes this centerpiece of community where people from all over the Fairview Reynolds community are able to come and gain equal access to services that they otherwise might not have access to. I'll give you this is a really big kind of philosophical overview, but I'll try to unpack it as quickly as possible. The Harvard came out with a study that describes the 6 domains of flourishing. We need 6 different domains in order to find human flourishing, and we need to have equal access to those in order to find flourishing. Oftentimes, people who are marginalized or vulnerable don't have access to one or another of those domains, and this is what keeps them from flourishing. So conceptually, what we are hoping to do is to create a hub of support where all 6 domains of flourishing are found in one location. And in that one location, the barriers that generally keep people from accessing those domains are removed or lowered. And so everyone across socioeconomic backgrounds will be able to have access to these domains in one location, and we can become a community of flourishing for not only those who attend church here, but the greater Reynolds and Fairview community. So that's a lot to unpack there, and I will be happy to talk more about what that looks like in just a few minutes, but I'll leave it right there.
And I'll just say that you're about to see 3 snapshots of this ecosystem that we've already alluded to from Dave Phillips, Ron Johnson, and Travis Smith. I was at a different Travis, but I also want to acknowledge that the council meetings, as those unfold once a month, are open for anybody to attend, which is where a lot of this by bits and pieces comes up. Some of our committee meetings are open, not 100% of them, but if there's anything that you would like to connect with or get involved with, we'll have more opportunities to tell you how by the end of this meeting. We'll also take your questions. So if you had one that came up, go ahead and write it down so that you don't forget when you watch the next video. We'll take those at the end of our time together. But if you'll turn your attention back to the screen, the first voice is Dave Phillips, our new trustee chair.
Covenant family, my name is Dave Phillips, and I have the privilege of serving as the chair of trustees in this upcoming year. As Paula steps down, I know that she has left some big shoes to fill. If you're not sure what the trustees are, think of it this way. If the SPRC helps care for the people who make ministry happen, the trustees help care for the places and systems that make ministry possible. And I can tell you it has been both an exciting and hard-working season. Looking back on 2025, we're grateful for a year of meaningful progress and faithful stewardship. One major milestone was negotiating a new lease with the Spanish Academy, which allows their program to expand. And what a gift it is to see our building used for mission, learning, and community transformation throughout the week. We also took significant steps toward future sustainability by completing our research on a potential solar panel installation project, including a full proposal from Sugar Hollow and a feasibility and cost analysis. We've been working quietly behind the scenes to get real clarity on what's possible and what's wise. Along the way, we handled practical needs that matter more than people realize, like purchasing and installing a new dryer, completing door repairs, contracting plumbing updates, and continuing general maintenance. We also invested in our staff's health and efficiency by providing 5S organization training, helping create systems that reduce stress and strengthen long-term sustainability. And a true highlight of the year was holding 2 church work days in April and September, where volunteers tackled everything from converting fluorescent fixtures to LED, to landscaping, painting, pressure washing, and even installing a new basketball hoop and sealing asphalt. That kind of shared labor is not just property care, it's ministry. Right now, our property is carrying more mission weight than ever before. We even received a donated church van, titled it properly, and created a safe process for approved drivers because God is growing our capacity to serve. As we look to 2026, we're stepping into a new season where trustees' work isn't just maintenance, it's vision. We're asking, how can we maximize our property for mission? Sam and Aaron will share more about that bigger picture in just a few minutes, but from the trustees' side, we're moving toward goals like completing the LED conversion, improving the basketball court, initiating the solar project, and continuing to develop a future building vision, including priorities like bathroom renovations, sign lighting, and finalizing a plan for repairing or replacing our HVAC system. And we need help. We're excited to welcome new trustees, so if you've ever thought about serving, please reach out. We would love to have you. Covenant, thank you for supporting this work. What we do with this property matters because it's becoming a platform for the mission of Jesus in this community.
Just to make it easy to find Dave, he wore the same shirt today. So if you would like to be a part of the trustees and fulfill that mission, he's right here in the exact same shirt. It's great. Let me speak very quickly to the solar project, because I think this is one of the things that the trustees has carried into 2026 that's super important. And you all have heard us talk about it at length over the last couple months. Thank you, first of all, for those who have contributed and made pledges to that particular campaign. For clarity, we were trying to raise about $14,000. I think I looked at the pledge a minute ago, we've got about $12,000 pledged. which is a little bit more than what we actually had in terms of a down payment. We had just about $12,000 that we had to have in a down payment. The reason we said we want to shoot for $14,000 is in case we have a gap between the installation and the new usage of the solar panels, and the cost savings that we would get with the electric use. So there may in fact be a gap in between the installation and when we actually see reduction in our electric bills. And so we were like, well, instead of shooting for $12,000, let's shoot for $14,000, and then we'll be able to fill in the gap. So that's that opening part. The project itself is about $120,000. So we have the down payment that we would be making. That's what we pulled together of about $12,000 is the down payment we paid to them, and that's already been paid. That was paid, I think, at the either the end of last year or the beginning of this year. Tracy would know the exact date. And then we have this loan with it's not Sugar Hollow. It's with Invest Appalachia. Well, okay, yeah, we'll be applying for the loan with that. That will cover the other. It will not cover the entire other bit because we will actually get 40% back of the purchase from the federal government. So we get 40% credits back on that overall $120,000 back. So that'll lower the overall indebtedness with the loan that we take out. So that's kind of the balancing act that we're playing right now. Once everything is installed and we start generating electricity with the solar, we assume that the amount of electricity that we will be producing will lower our overall electric bill in such a capacity that the loan that we have to pay will be balanced out. Is that? Those are trustees looking at me.
Clear as mud.
That's where we're at.
Thank you.
Me, who is not an accountant or any of this, like, you get me to communicate this. I try to do it as quick as possible. That's where we are. Now, Paula is coming off trustees. Paula is remaining as the project lead for this particular project. So if you have questions about that, then I would direct you to her in particular so that you can get more questions answered about how we move into this phase. The unknown part of this project, which Paula and Keith and I believe Christy Shortridge will be participating in, is in what ways will our building be formed into a resilience hub? We talked a lot about the village hub, but there is a lot of discussion on the backside of Hurricane Helene about how our building and future buildings can be used for a resilience hub. In case there should be any other natural or man-made disaster in the future, how will this become a place of resilience for our community? These are the meetings that both in our county and our conference, the Western North Carolina Conference of the United Methodist Church, are now having. So at the end of this week, February 27th, the first meeting is being held. We'll go to the Asheville Civic Center. We'll be talking about mapping resilience hubs and what kind of resources are available. March 5th, we will have another meeting with the conference where they have specifically invited Covenant because the conference wants Covenant to be a resilience hub. And we will talk about what kind of possibilities lie there. You can think of this in terms of like new financial opportunities in front of us because these are the spaces where we could actually convert solar into a usable resource should the power grid go down, because we will then have the money to purchase the batteries, which, if I'm not mistaken, again, big figures, but I think it's like $50,000 extra or higher. Let's go higher. Let's keep going. All right. So
here's 75.
So that's where, if we consider, hey, should there be a catastrophic failure of the power grid, how could we, in fact, provide power for the community? This is where we bring in partners at the city, county, state, and federal level, in addition to partners with our church denominational level, because the denomination is also interested in helping us become a resilience hub. So that's a lot of what's going on there. There may be more questions with regard to that, so write those questions down. We will get to those in just a minute. But I wanted to make sure that you had sort of a fair understanding of that as it being one of the key pieces of moving into a village hub, that we also are a resilience hub going forward. So that Dave has helped us unpack that sort of physical space and how our physical space is actively being reimagined for mission. One of the things I also want us to think through is how our church community, this ecosystem that we're talking about, is moving beyond the walls of this church. And in order to do that, we want to let you hear for just a minute from Ron Johnson an individual that many of you may not know, but an individual who leads an active, vibrant community of faith out of Covenant every single week, anywhere from 20 to 30, or maybe on a bad day it's a little lower in the winter, but of hikers all through the community. So give your attention to Ron for just a minute.
Hello, Covenant family. My name is Ron Johnson, and I am the leader of Worship in the Wild. Before I say anything else, I just want to acknowledge something that's very important. Most of you probably have no idea who I am, which is exactly like I prefer it. Because while you all are here worshiping in the sanctuary on a Sunday morning, I am out on a trail somewhere in the area, and that is the point. Worship in the Wild exists because Covenant is becoming the kind of church that understands something really powerful, that God is not limited to a building, and neither is the church. This past year in 2025, Worship in the Wild went on 46 Sunday morning hikes. We averaged around 11 or so people per hike. Over the course of the year, we had 58 different people join us, and 17 of them came out at least 10 times or more, which is indicating that we've really done a great job in building some community. We explored trails all over western North Carolina, from Brevard to Mars Hill, from Old Fort to Inca. We covered over 230 miles with nearly 36,000 feet in elevation gain. That is more than Mount Everest, which means we are officially a very spiritual group. We're also a very sore group. What's been most meaningful isn't just the hiking, it's the faith conversations. This year we focused on various aspects of faith and spiritual growth, and we featured 16 individual faith stories where our group members were able to share how their faith has shaped their lives over time. And here's what makes this so special. Many of the people who come with us would never attend a traditional church, but they'll absolutely hike and have honest conversations about faith and meaning and doubt and hope. And in 2026, we want to keep building this community, deepening relationships, creating space for spiritual formation on the trail, and beyond the trail through gatherings and shared life together. And I just want to take this time to say thank you, Covenant family. Your support makes room for people who don't call this building their church to still find a place where they belong, where faith is taken seriously, and where Jesus is encountered in the wild. So thanks for letting us be part of the Covenant family, even if you don't recognize me.
Ron and Holly are very fun people. If you've never been a part of the Worship in the Wild experience, you can find it on Meetup. It's an app where their group has formed hundreds of followers, people at least saying, I might be interested. And
I think they may be at like 400 or 500
yeah,
followers.
they have a fair amount of visibility there. So we intentionally don't post the pictures of the groups that you can find in the Meetup app if you were a part of that group or joined it. And we don't advertise it on a regular basis here because we really want people to feel like they have the liberty to not think that that's just a step to having to come here. That counts. That counts as your spiritual moment. And if they come, wonderful. And if they don't come, they're still living in a community that's drawing nearer and closer through all the ways that Ron mentioned. So this next video is kind of speaking to the way that worship, well, that was speaking to the way worship forms and sends us. And again, our counseling that started in the fall here is another way that God has sent us to just be a form of support. That is available not just for our residents that are living here displaced from the storm. It also serves, in some cases, some of the folks from the United Methodist Disaster Response work across the region. They have the opportunity to take advantage of this service on site or via telehealth. It's also available to our church family until all those spots are filled. And as recently as last week, there was still some availability for appointments. And that happens upstairs. Pretty much when you get to the top of the steps, you turn right and you're in the therapeutic room if you are a person that likes to come in person. and there is telehealth options. So we're going to be helping fill that roster with folks that were disaster impacted in other counties. If we don't have a need to fill all those spots, they've been kind of holding those to make sure that we have opportunities for this crew as well. So if you've been thinking about it or shying away from it, don't hesitate to let us know, and we'll get you connected.
Hey Covenant, my name is Pastor Travis Smith, and I'm the Executive Director of Blue Ridge Hope and fellow Methodist pastor at Oakley and Acton UMC. I'm truly grateful for the partnership we share with Covenant Community Church, and I'm honored to share a glimpse of what this collaboration has made possible. Since August 1st, 2025, Blue Ridge Hope has provided more than $47,000 in uncompensated mental health care. And I want to be clear, that number represents sessions that were not covered by insurance. That support helped provide care for 127 individuals through 513 counseling sessions, including many people from vulnerable populations in our region, especially those affected by Hurricane Helene. In the aftermath of a disaster, people don't just lose homes and possessions, they often carry invisible burdens, trauma, grief, anxiety, and economic disruption. And what this partnership has done is to make sure that people who are hurting can still access support, regardless of their ability to pay. Right now, we are seeing what happens when a community refuses to ignore the mental health needs of its neighbors. At Blue Ridge Hope, we believe counseling should not be a luxury. It should be part of the foundation of recovery and wholeness. And we've been especially encouraged by Covenant because you share that same belief that the church should be a place of healing, a place of hope, a place where people feel safe enough to begin again. As we look ahead, we're excited to see this partnership continue and to flourish. We believe there are new opportunities on the horizon, especially in expanding the intentional support for students through a program we call HopeWorks, where we're hopeful that we can continue to build pathways of care for the next generation and for families who are still finding their footing. Covenant, thank you for partnering with us, not only in disaster recovery, but in addressing something that affects so many people quietly and deeply, the epidemic of loneliness, especially on the other side of a storm. Your support is making healing possible, and we are truly grateful to be your newest partner in the fight.
So I do hope that if you have not checked out Blue Ridge Hope, there's a lot of material at the back of the church. You'll check some of that out. If you'd like to participate in their services, as Aaron said, they are on site and online. So feel free to reach out to them. It's a very quick process for intake, and they are just one of many in our area who are doing great work in this regard. So they just happen to be pretty close to us. So that is what it means to look at the church as an ecosystem and how we shift into that. We have two more sections, but these move much quicker, so breathe a sigh of relief. The second one that we want to look at today is creating a space of belonging. I preached about this a few weeks back. In fact, we were going to do this session the week that I preached that sermon, but the storm had other plans for us. But we'll talk about it this morning. We want, as we look into this 2026 year, we want to move from just a place where all are welcome to a place where all belong. Welcome is important. Welcome is vital in terms of how we form and fashion our lives. But belonging is this deeper reality that so many people need and desire, right? A lack of belonging is what creates the loneliness and the isolation that we feel as a society, not the lack of welcome. We don't belong in spaces. And so belonging means that we are known. Belonging means that we are valued. Belonging means that we have a place to participate and to give of the gifts that we have in our hands, and we pass them back over. And what we believe is that Covenant is becoming a church that increasingly reflects this belonging, not only for those who are already here, but for the community that is around us. Covenant has been a place where a lot of different communities have already found belonging. In fact, Aaron told the story some time back about engaging with an individual up in the Boone area who had for a short season been involved in a recovery house here in Asheville, found their way to Covenant one night for one of the CMA groups, and because of the belonging that he found here in that night, he went back to Boone and started a recovery group there. It was so transformative. So there are different communities that feel that, but we sense a longing to start reflecting the full diversity of the community that exists around us, culturally, linguistically, generationally, socially. And so one of the things that we are committed to being more intentional about this year, and we're in the very early conversations of what this might look like, but we're looking at what a multicultural, multi-racial expression of the church could look like here at Covenant. Including, we've already had dialogues with our district superintendent. We've had some dialogues with the conference in Charlotte's office or Huntersville. What we need now is a small group who is in this church, a small discernment team from this congregation who's interested in seeing what it would be like to have a multiracial, multi-ethnic congregation birthed forth from this community of faith. Let me be clear, this is not rebranding us in one way or another. It's simply becoming a church that is capable of receiving the neighbors who God is already sending our way. How do we become a place of belonging for people who do not speak the same language as us? More specifically, how do we become a church that creates a sense of belonging for those of our Latin neighbors who live right across the street from us, right down the street from us, who are surrounding us? How do we do that more intentionally? And that's part of what we will explore as we go throughout this year. Where could God raise up new leaders, new opportunities for new worship services in our midst, and creating a sense of community that just doesn't kind of have one-way missional outpourings to the community around us, but really has a sense of full belonging, of spiritual belonging at its core. And so if you're here this morning and you're like, oh, I would love to be involved in that sort of planning team, thinking about what that might look like, then see one of us after service, see us, send us an email, let us know. These are the types of things that we are exploring this year. This is the type of belonging that we are wanting to create, and that's where we're heading. Over the next few minutes, you're going to hear just a couple of stories that show what belonging can actually look like. And the first video that we're going to show you is actually from the directors of the Spanish Academy, Salome and Taylor, who have been here building community with vital parents in our community for, the entire time that Aaron had been here and a little bit before that. And so we want you to hear from them for just a few minutes.
Hello, Covenant family. My name is Salome Loomis.
And I'm Taylor Loomis, and we're so grateful to be here representing the Spanish Academy of Asheville.
The Academy officially opened in the fall of 2022, shortly after Sam and Aaron came to Covenant. And from the beginning, this church has been home for us. Our work at the Academy isn't separate from our faith. It's an extension of who we are as followers of Jesus. We believe language, education, and community building are all part of how we love our neighbors well. As we wrap 2025, it's hard to believe how far we have come. Our staff grew from 6 teachers in 2024 to 12 teachers by the end of 2025. And we are incredibly thankful for a team that is educated, ambitious, and deeply dedicated to our mission. These teachers are not only serving students, they are advocating for families and help create a learning environment rooted in care and excellence. We also can't believe we have been partnered with Covenant going on 5 years. We began our partnership back in 2021, and looking back, we can truly see how we have grown together as organizations, as neighbors, and as a shared community. Right now, we're seeing a strong monument. We are thankful for the Asheville community. Our Spanish immersion program has a long wait list, and that growth reflects real trust in what we're doing. We are also deeply thankful to Boncancaña schools who have opened doors to our services. We currently provide an afternoon program at all the Boncancaña schools, and we are excited about expanding the Spanish Club opportunities to more Boncancaña schools in the future. In 2025, we were honored to receive a recognition from community, including being named the best school in Asheville. And we're grateful to sponsor All County Buncombe Choir and Glen Arlen Elementary.
Looking into 2026, we are ecstatic to expand by offering a kindergarten program. Spanish Academy of Asheville is not just a daycare, we're a fully licensed preschool with licensed teachers and a real curriculum. So this expansion means moving towards becoming a full immersion private elementary school, not just a preschool. We are also excited to grow more partnerships with organizations like Buncombe County Partnership for Children, Buncombe County Schools, and MAHEC, and to keep sponsoring and investing in our community, like our support for the Reynolds Youth Basketball League and others. Covenant, thank you for being our home. Thank you for believing in our work, and we're honored to walk alongside of you as partners in our ministry and mission.
Thank you very much.
This next video is really a testament to how the community and belonging that's happening here can not only be educational and transformational, but actually life-saving, literally life-saving. So here now from George McGee, who leads our CMA group that meets here multiple times a week.
Hey, Covenant Community family. My name is George McGee, and I have the privilege of being one of the members of the Open Blinds group of Crystal Meth Anonymous, or CMA for short, that meets regularly here at Covenant. I want to start by saying what happens in this sanctuary during this week is holy. I know this is true on Sundays, but it's also equally true on Tuesday and Friday nights as well. It's a sacred experience to witness 80 to 100 people, sometimes more, gathering here on Tuesday and Friday nights, and also on Thursday, to fight for their lives, to choose recovery, and to build a future. Open Blinds CMA is one of the largest and most diverse CMA meetings in the world. And that diversity isn't just something we celebrate. It's part of what makes the community so powerful. People show up from all walks of life, with different stories, backgrounds, and struggles, but with one shared hope: freedom. At the heart of our fellowship are the 12 Steps, a spiritual program that helps people achieve long-term sobriety. But no one walks that road alone. In Open Blinds, members provide sponsorship, peer support, and real fellowship, the kind of community that tells you you're not done, you're not alone, and your story isn't over. Open Blinds is also an integral part of the recovery community of Asheville and Western North Carolina. We hold 3 meetings a week here at Covenant, and 2 of those are hybrid, meaning that people can join us from all over the world in person or in Zoom, expanding access to recovery for those who might not otherwise be able to come. And our work doesn't stop here. In addition to meeting at Covenant, Open Blinds also carries meetings into 3 local treatment facilities every single week. And we're currently developing efforts to bring meetings into the Buncombe County Detention Center as well. While the name is Crystal Meth Anonymous, we welcome people seeking recovery from all kinds of addictions, including alcohol and opioids. Many treatment centers even transport their clients to our meetings. And outreach matters to us. We are committed to serving underserved communities and making recovery accessible. We're also grateful that one of our local members serves on the Worldwide CMA Board of Trustees, helping us shape this work at the highest level. Covenant, thank you. Thank you for opening your doors, for making space, and for helping people feel safe, especially people who may have been hurt by the church in the past. Here they are welcomed. Here they are seen. Here they can heal. We are honored to call Covenant our home.
When the belonging grows, the work continues to grow. So belonging can be a beautiful thing and a scary thing, because it means, what does that mean? What's next, right? And that leads us to our third objective, which is about sustainability. That we need to make sure that we have not just open hearts and the capacity to grow in that sense, but really the systems that are needed to be able to navigate all of this. And so we're really moving from this season of momentum. It absolutely has been a season of momentum, but it's been sort of a reactive momentum to a season of proactive system development. Many of you have already contributed to how that's been forming and shaping up. But we've been responding as faithfully as we know how, and you all know how, to the needs that are around us. And we want to really just kind of update you a little bit on the village in particular, because that's the most visible way that you all are seeing this kind of development. I think we're currently walking with 22
No,
or
we've-
3,
we've
or they
housed-
graduated.
Yeah, we've graduated them down. So
I
it's
didn't get the update this week, y'all.
Down about 16 families now in recovery, and 16 families who have been housed.
Yes.
As of yesterday, we have 16
Go ahead.
families who have been housed.
It's beautiful.
Yep. And we have one family on a waiting list to get in.
Yes. We're not eagerly taking in a bunch of people because we have about 1.5 years left on our emergency permitting. But we are, you may be surprised to know, actively seeking to fill 2 village positions. You may have seen this in the e-news. One is a full-time person to take care of kind of the project as a whole. We're calling this a program director. And they provide the family support as all the bits and pieces have come together since the infrastructure has been in. It's kind of been a team effort, which has been great, but the team is tired. And so we need somebody to lead that initiative as we finish out this 1.5 years. And then the other role is a communications person, part-time, to speak about what's happening with the village and how it translates to the church and back and forth, and out to the community about all those things. So I think this week there were 4 interviews for the program director, and I think there's just been 1 for the communications person. So if you have other folks in your life that might be a good fit for the communications role, or just even a good conversation to think about it, make sure to connect us with them so that we can get them in the right conversations to start that process if they're open to it. Part of the work over the next year, as we kind of graduate families out and back into wherever their next step is for housing, is to develop the long-term use, or continue to discern, and eventually, not in 1.5 years, but before 1.5 years, decide how we will use the village infrastructure. We were gifted the money, and we put in septic and sewer and electric and what am I saying? Water, all the basics. I'm like, which things did I already say? But a lot of money was invested. There are things in the ground, and there are things that make this a viable option to see something else there in the future.
And just to insert, just for those who are kind of numbers oriented, the investment that was made in the ground out in the village was around $450,000, give or take, a little bit of money, and that goes all the way down the hill. But that's an infrastructure that is essentially large enough to put like a small neighborhood up here. But that's what we're dealing with when we say we were blessed with this. That's the infrastructure that's in the ground. Now the question mark in front of us is, how do we best be stewards of that resource going forward, knowing that it's there?
So the 2 areas of sustainability we want you to hear for the next few moments are around the people systems and the financial systems, because we know it won't be every year we get a $450,000 investment. Here, Vanessa, our Staff Parish Relations Committee Chair.
Hey, Covenant family. I'm Vanessa Crouch, and I have the honor of serving as the chair of the SPRC, the Staff Parish Relations Committee. In the United Methodist Church, SPRC is the team that helps care for the health of ministry and staff leadership. And I'll be honest, this work isn't always easy. It requires a great deal of grace, accountability, and discernment. But it's also one of the places where God provides shelter and new direction for those who serve on staff, so they can lead well, stay healthy, and continue doing ministry with joy. Looking back on the past year, I'm deeply thankful for what I would call a stable year, and I mean that in the best way. After the intensity of recent season, stability itself is a gift. It has given us room to breathe, to strengthen systems, and to begin looking forward with hope. I continue to be grateful for a staff that is dedicated, resilient, and able to fill the gaps when they arise. And I'm also thankful for the steady pool of volunteers who serve faithfully both inside the church and out in the community. Ministry here is truly shared. Right now, Covenant is becoming more and more of a hub for resources, a place where people know they can come for help, connection, and support. And we're especially delighted to have a family minister who is flourishing in her role, bringing energy, creativity, and real growth to our children's and youth ministries. Watching those ministries expand has been a beautiful sign of life. Auburn, we are so grateful for you. As we look ahead, we see real opportunity on the horizon. One of our biggest goals is to strengthen our staffing for this new season. including hiring a program director for the village to oversee day-to-day operations and a part-time communications coordinator and storyteller for our church, because Covenant has a beautiful story to tell, and we want to do a better job of sharing that good news with the world. Covenant, thank you for supporting our staff, for loving your church, and for being the kind of congregation that steps up when it matters most. We're excited about what God is building here and grateful to serve you in this season.
Shout out to Vanessa, who will watch this later. She wasn't able to be here today, but I'd also like Barbie and Dale to raise your hand, just so you know, 2 other members of our staff parish relations committee. So particularly if you have complaints about us, those are the people you should talk to.
See them right there.
And we're very grateful for the way they support not only us, but Tracy, Ken, Auburn as well. And so thank you for being a part of a relay of interviews this past week. And then next is Dave Cole, who's coming into this role newly as our finance chair with a lot of wisdom and insight.
Covenant family, my name is Dave Cole, and I'm honored to serve as the new finance chair. I'm so glad to be part of this family and your finance team. While this is my first year in this role at Covenant, I've served as finance chair in other churches, and I can honestly say what God is doing here is unique, and it's worth stewarding with care, clarity, and faith. When we look back at 2025, we can say this with confidence. We did a lot with little. Tracy said it best, never have we done so much as a church with such a small staff. And I think the same is true financially. We have stretched resources, multiplied impact, and proven something we believe deep in our bones. Little is much when God is in it. One of the biggest positives of this year was the leadership of our staff. Sam, Aaron, Tracy, Ken, and Auburn were all outstanding stewards of the funds entrusted to them. They were careful, thoughtful, and consistently underspent budget line items, which is not common, and it's something to celebrate. We are blessed with leadership that handles money with integrity. We also need to name this honestly. The finance picture has required extra work this year, largely because the village and church finances have grown quickly and needed clearer systems. But that's not discouraging, it's simply part of growth. When God expands the mission, the structure has to strengthen too. And here's a major reason we can be hopeful. New opportunities are opening up. Sam has done incredible work securing grants, tens of thousands of dollars through networking and by faithfully sharing our story to all who would listen. Those grants have provided direct support for both Covenant and the village and reduced strain on our operating budget. We're also seeing real growth in attendance, and over time, that typically leads to increased giving and improved cash flow. I would say that if you are new here at Covenant, prayerfully consider what it would take for you to become an active contributor in the work we are doing in this community. As we step into 2026, we're focused on building stronger financial systems and a stronger team. We're grateful to have solid leadership serving on finance, and we also want to invite others to join the team. We believe adding part-time accounting support would be a wise next step to help ensure accuracy, clarity, and sustainability as the church and village continue to grow. In closing, Covenant, I want to thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your faith. God is leading this church into a new season, and we truly believe the financial foundation is being strengthened to support the ministry ahead. If you would like more information about church finances or would like to receive quarterly reports, send us an email, and we will make sure to add you to our list.
And I'll say we've got about 10 copies of these in the back, but I can print more if you want. The annual report that goes to our council's meeting tomorrow night. The 2025 report is finally done. It's on that counter back there. If you want to take a picture of it and take it, you can. If you want to take a copy, that's fine. And if you get back there and there's none, let me know. I'll go print them off real quick. I just want to highlight kind of in bulk numbers just what Dave was talking about. We had set kind of an ambitious budget last year, kind of growing up. We said we wanted to bring in about $646,000, almost $647,000 is what we budgeted for. We only settled at $536,000 in terms of what we brought in. But here's the amazing thing. We still ended the year with almost $50,000 in the black. Because of the way that we came together and thought creatively about that. And so we still ended up with a surplus at the end of 2025, even if we didn't meet the budget that we had initially set. So I do think that is a beautiful job by our staff and our finance team and all who contributed to making that a possibility. Thank you for doing that. We look forward to how we go into the future, but make sure to pick that up if you want. And if you email at that info@CCC Asheville, you can get this report and all the quarterly reports going forward.
I just want everybody's eyes to look this way to hear this one thing if you've heard nothing else. Everybody knows Tracy, purple shirt in the back. Hey, Tracy. Round of applause. Many of you have her phone number. Many of you have history. Many of you will go out to dinner or do something fun together. Please email info@cccasheville.org if you want official information. I've watched Tracy for years work systematically and consistently to make sure she can balance all the things on her plate. And so if she doesn't get you a turnaround quickly, she will get to you, I promise. And so just make sure info@CCC. She fields all that, redirects it all where it needs to go, and we're very, very thankful for that, Tracy. On your tables, I want to take questions for a few minutes. I know we're a little bit longer than probably most of us intended to be, but it's important work together, and I think this is such a demonstration that you all are in it, not just here for the entertainment value. But I also want to acknowledge that on your tables, there are just maybe a smattering of cards that have three colors on them. And this is, if you're not already plugged in on a committee, if you haven't found your way in this story, if you don't know where you belong, or maybe you do and you want to expand that or kind of switch to a different area, these are cards we gave out 2 years ago, 3 years ago. A couple years ago, on our 30th anniversary of the church, when we had a synergy session with a lot of potential community partners or already active partners just to kind of dream together. And it really just says, keep me in the loop. Somebody call them out to me. I didn't keep one like a fool. Keep me in the loop is the name of the card, and it's around finances. If you want to be involved in that conversation in particular, that doesn't mean you have to give all your finances. It might mean that you're helping us figure out where to find those other grants and other opportunities. I think there's one about keeping connected with community. I cannot read that, but I appreciate you. Can you call them out for me, Tim Burleson?
Funding the future,
yeah.
Planning new programs, and
creating connection. This might be just leveraging influence and introductions, widening the circles, not just for us, but however wide that goes. I mean, we have connections in New Jersey that we found out after the fact, made contributions here that are like, what's happening? And I'm like, I haven't seen you in 5 years. And so there is some work to be done in keeping those networks active and engaged and updated. And so if any of those speak to you, make sure you leave your name, your email, your phone number, whichever way you want us to get in touch with you, and check a box or two so that we can have a more pointed conversation about what that means and keep you on those kind of micro updates as we go. All right. You know what question we get asked the most? At least I get asked the most. You might not. The question I get asked the most now that I work in a lot of other counties in disaster recovery is how many people actually go to Covenant? And because they always assume it's a lot more than the average attendance of 130 to 150 people every Sunday. And that just speaks to the impact. What it means to be an influential church, even if we're not the largest church. That's okay. And we celebrate that again and again and again. So what questions do you have besides how many people come to Covenant? Do we need a nurse leadership role? If you will mark the card on the connections piece, I will make sure that that question is answered as if that is a need. Today, no, not yet.
Check back in a few
Thank you
months.
for asking.
Yeah.
Other questions? Yeah, the question is, how does the hub expansion speak to future building use in particular?
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're unaware, this building is maxed out. So spatially, we would be looking at a building just behind this one, right as you come in, kind of where the pavilion is, that we would be putting in place. It would be a building that would be, as with every piece of property we have, everything we do, multi-use. And so the ways in which we use it Monday through Friday, we would still be able to use it on the weekends. And one of the key pieces for us in thinking through this is how our youth and children might be able to access that space as a space for them, in particular, kind of a secured space on Sundays. And so that's one thing we'll be looking at, in addition to other rooms that might be used for, if it's Christian education or small group gatherings, those types of things. We want that
What
building.
he's saying is there's going to be some medium-sized rooms, not just this or
Not
a
this
small
or a
room.
tiny room, yeah. That was kind of a key objective. Make sure that you can have a room that will fit 50 to 75 people, not 300 or 10, which is kind of where we are right now. And a real kitchen. So part of this also, we are...
And showers.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to throw out?
We are, because of the Resilience Hub conversations, and also we're gearing up for pitching this to the two major donors, the Duke Endowment and Dogwood Health Trust Initiative. Those are our two major donor pots. We will be pitching it to both of them. The Administrative Council voted to use $25,000 to forward to the Wesley CDC to get images drafted of this building so that we can then go to those donor bodies and have pictures and ideas in place before we go to them. I've got some great stories already about how God is working in those little pots. In fact, the Wesley CDC was granted the opportunity to speak to the trustees of the Duke Endowment. One of the members of the trustees of the Duke Endowment is Mr. Cecil. I think a few of you might know him. So he's heard this idea already and thought it was something that they had to do. That whatever it takes, we need to figure out how that happens in our community. So those are some beautiful things that are happening behind the scenes. I don't know exactly how that translates into desire to cash.
This is prayer. This is my prayer fingers.
This is where we are. And so that building is what we're currently getting drawings for as we speak, with anticipation of going through the process this year of getting broken ground.
Means we have to improve our church management software for how many rooms we might have. Mm-hmm. Other questions, comments?
Glasses off. You're good. You got it. Don't let you fall.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah.
Years ago, Beck and I were at another church, and we were at a meeting, and they told us that unless you sacrifice more than you expect, you may have to help me.
Okay. Don't just sit there, Mac.
What they were teaching us, I was one of these people who gave $20 a week at church. I'm doing my fair share. And they told us, the more you gave, the more you're blessed, the more you receive. I didn't believe it. Hogwash. I stand before you to tell you, not only is it true, it works, it doubles. And we do that to say, folks, this church Look what we did with a little over $500,000.
Mm-hmm.
Look what we could do with more. Look where we could grow. You know, I'm not one. Sam knows we talk about stewardship sermons. I'm not one of those people. But folks, when you think about it, when you look at your budget around the house, take time to think, what can I do? Where can my money do more action, more good?
Mm-hmm. Did he get it, Sally? He took it all from you.
And Dave would like to have 2 more members of the family.
That's true. Dave, you didn't pull it the way that this Dave did when you were doing it. You should have done that.
But you don't know what's needed. But if you give, it's used where God wants it to be used. And it may be physically for this church. It may be for some of these other groups that are here. We just don't know. But we have to count on God to use it as He feels like it needs to be used.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you. It is certainly a season where all of us have been stretched in multiple ways. I tell this often to people that I'm talking to about about what God did, telling the story, and it always amazes me that we entered a season of reactive chaos with a group of engineers whose minds were like flipping out. But it was also this beautiful season where we sort of leaned into each other with the gifts that we had, and we found God show up in these miraculous ways, I think that blew all of our minds. And now, I personally am looking forward with a great sigh of relief to be able to move away from the reactive nature of our season into a real proactive, intentional pathway forward where we can continue to be the church that God has called us to be, but also do that with some level of clarity and thought. And I do think it still requires a lot of sacrifice. It still requires that we lean in and we know how to use the finances that are in front of us wisely, that we plan new programs. And I know that as we do that together, that God will show up in beautiful ways. So the question that I want to leave us with, we are right at the end of the hour, is just really simple, just a few things. Where is God asking you to show up? Some of you have not found a sense of belonging here. You found welcome and you're here, and that's great. You've not found that sense of belonging. And so where is God asking you to show up? In fact, even just the past couple of weeks, I've received several emails and different ones of people wanting to go into small groups. And we have small groups that are being birthed. In fact, Sam's in the back over here. Wave at us, Sam. Sam and Emily have had in their heart to have a small group birthed out of their house in South Arden. And it's just a matter of filling that group. And so if you're here and you're like, hey, I'd like to belong to a group like that, then see Sam before you leave. Dave's got a group they're still meeting. When's your group meeting? Tuesday night over in the Candler area. And you've got room? Putting you on the spot, but there's space there. There's different spaces where people can belong. I hope you'll lean into that. If you've got this longing to serve on a team, we've mentioned today the trustees have opportunities, finance team has opportunities. Don't leave today without having a conversation saying...
Youth and Children's Ministries always have opportunities.
Thank you. Auburn was about to punch me. Sorry. These are all opportunities to serve. And as you think about the ways that you can serve, certainly think about the ways that we can give together. And it may not just be financial resources that you've got, but it may be access to resources that you're like, have you thought about this? Have you thought about a path to the future that might entail this? Bring those ideas, bring that energy, and let's think about what God wants us to do together so that we're not just an event-driven church, but we are an ecosystem where thriving, living community can happen. We're not just a place that offers welcome, but we are a place that provides belonging. And we do this as systematically and well thought out as possible. That's what I think God is calling us to this year, so that we can truly be that place that holds the grace of God, the earthen vessel that holds amazing grace of God. Anything you want to finally say?
Just that we're here for questions. If you have others that we didn't answer, we'll hang around a little bit longer. And info@ccc is the other way. But look at you. You are a beautiful treasure. And we're so thankful that we get to be a part of you and you a part of us. Have a wonderful week. And we pray that God blesses you, that he strengthens you, that he encourages you, and that he responds to the deepest desires of your heart. Amen and amen.
Thank you all.